Okay, good morning, everyone. I am live today with David Okum of Okum Arts, and today we're going to talk about a really interesting new comic on today's really fun third episode of No Capes with my shiny new computer, which hopefully should make everything work a little better. And today's comic is Oliver, which is a sort of a dystopian retelling of the Oliver Twist story by writer Gary Whitta and artist Derek Robertson. It is that time of the morning. I'm still having my coffee. Dave, why don't you introduce yourself and let everyone know who you are before we get started?
Sure, sure. Well, first off, I'm going to apologize if I break up a little bit audio-wise or video. This internet's doing weird things. It's evening here where I am in Canada. My name is David Okum. I write and illustrate comics. I'm getting back into comics next year, which I'm kind of excited about. I actually probably haven't done a comic since, gosh, maybe 20. I don't know, 2015, 2017. So I wanted to make sure I got back into it. And I've been doing a lot of role-playing game material, paper miniatures and adventures and role-playing games. And I've always kind of meant to kind of come back to comics. I'm a teacher full, so it takes a lot of my energy and time and focus. So I do this, as something I love to do. Uh, um, and looking forward to getting back into comics in the new year.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with because I really love your retro style paper minis, especially. I love all of them, but your like retro spy movie ones really,
Yes.
really tickle me. Um,
Oh, those are fun to do.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing those, especially because that ties in with some of the projects that I'm doing. So I definitely, as I mentioned earlier, want to chat to you about that in the future. Um, yeah. So if you have the time, we're
Mhm.
gonna shout out at the end all of Dave's socials and things, so you can find his work. So definitely go check Dave's work out. But for now, I'm going to show you the cover for the comic that we're talking about today. So this is Oliver. Fair warning, I am a little rusty on it because I have ADHD and my memory is shot. But David just reread it again as well. I really love it. I've read up to issue 4
Mhm.
myself. As you can see, the art is a very Derek Robertson
Yeah.
style, but it's also a little softer in color palette than some of his other work, which is really cool. At least the cover style is. Let me just see if I can skip to page
Mhm.
2 here. There we go. So Diego Rodriguez is the colorist.
Yeah, I
Um,
found the style.
yep.
Yeah, the style had a softer edge to it from his other stuff in Transmetropolitan and The Boys. I
Yeah.
found there are some elements that were very familiar with his style, but there was a sort of a wistfulness to some of it, which I thought was kind of nice. I was kind of pleasantly surprised with that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
Like
think that's why
the
it really caught my eye. It was something a little different.
Yeah, that's right. And like the line art is still very much Derek Robertson. This colorist combo with his line art is really nice. I'm just flicking through it a little bit while we talk. But here we've also got Simon Boland is the letterer. I have seen that name around. Apologies, Simon, if you're watching this. I have a terrible memory and I can't remember what else I've seen your lettering in, but you did a great job in this comic. And Drew Gill actually did a really great job with the logo and production design as well. I think it really suits the tone of the story
Hmm.
in that sort of post industrial, not exactly post apocalyptic, but post tragic event sort of world that this is set in.
Yeah,
Yeah, like we don't really
yeah,
know exactly
yeah,
what's going
and
on.
that's one of the elements I think that's kind of
Go on.
yeah. There's a you know there's clones and there's mutants and there's something else going on, but it keeps you know that element of the story a little vague, and I think that keeps it interesting. I think.
Yeah. exactly. And yeah, just to show what Dave and I were talking about here, I'm not sure if you can see the Twitch screen right now, Dave, but I've got the first page up with the figure
Mm,
in the hazmat suit
I
walking.
can't myself.
Yeah, so I've got that first
Okay,
page with the person in the hazmat
right.
suit walking through
Walking
the
through London.
rubble. Yeah, and you can see that something real bad has happened.
Yeah, and I noticed that in the writing in those first couple of pages, it's basically from Richard II. There's a deathbed speech that's being spoken, and those are
Mm,
the this sceptred isle, the very famous Shakespeare quote is being used, and it's funny because in that quote, I mean I haven't taken a Shakespeare course since university, but I've taught Shakespeare since to high school. And that quote itself it's like it's building up what England is and how it's so special and wonderful, but there's an irony to it because it's a deathbed speech where the character is predicting it's a prophecy of the fall of England under Richard II. So
mm.
there's this sort of portent to the words, even though the words are kind of building it up and making it sound amazing. There's an irony to it, right? And I think that it matches really well with the imagery as she's kind of plodding through the streets of just blown out London.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I actually didn't recognize that speech myself because I haven't studied a lot of Shakespeare, so that actually was really cool to find out. That's a really neat touch.
Hmm.
Um, I'm gonna go through like the first three
Yeah,
pages,
and
the
there's a
first
lot of
three
Shakespeare
pages only.
references in there. Like,
Yeah, they don't. Sorry. Yeah, you go, Dave.
okay, yeah, I think we have that Australia to Canada delay.
Yeah, I was just about to say that to everyone. Just so you know, guys, there is a small lag between what I'm saying and what David is saying, so we might take a couple minutes to figure out our rhythm there.
Yeah,
But yeah, do
but
go
yeah,
on,
so
Dave.
I was very I thought it was very cool. Yeah, well, it's very cool. There's a lot of Shakespeare reference in this, and of course Oliver for Oliver Twist. But I think the Oliver naming comes from As You Like It, uh,
Oh,
with the character from As You Like It. So, who's a real horrible character in As You Like It. But at the end, just think all these think Oliver, and you see this little waif of a kid, and he's sort of with a Fagin and his crew. Um, just when you think, okay, he's doing Shakespeare, not Dickens. There's a Dickens quote
yeah,
the end of the book there, which is the
yeah, no,
kicker, right?
yeah, I really liked that. Um, yeah, so I'm going to show the first three pages of the comic so that we don't spoil anything for everyone, but it can give you sort of a look at what's on. So we're on page 2 now, David, which has got this happy breed of men,
Okay.
this little world, this precious stone set in the silver sea, which serves it in the office of a wall or as a moat defensive to a house against the envy of less happier lands. As this figure is still trudging through this
Hmm.
destroyed London with nuclear hazard signs and barriers up, and there's massive holes in the street, and so we know something terrible has happened. We don't know if it's an apocalypse or if it was just London that's been destroyed. I actually have to reread the whole series because I can't remember how much has been revealed yet. But I do know that even though they revealed some things in
Yeah, I
further.
think.
Yep, sorry, Dave.
Yeah, I think that, well, there's a couple of like landmarks. Like I think Nelson's column is crashed down, and I think there's the Ferris wheel, London. I think there's all those London Eye. All those elements are in there as sort of ruins, and I think that's the kind of reference. And then all the great Victorian tenement buildings, which seem to have survived this battle unscathed,
Mm,
which is pretty cool. So it's like the modern era has been sort of stripped off, and the late and then the sort of Victorian era underneath London
Yeah, no, I actually
is still
really,
there. So it has that Dickensian feel.
yeah, now that you point
Yeah.
that out, actually, yeah, I really like that. And yeah, actually, yeah, we're on that third page now where the column has crashed down and the pigeons are flapping away.
Hmm.
Yeah, so
There's
I
always
do,
going to be pigeons.
yes, there will always be pigeons. Even if they've got six wings and three eyes because of whatever's happened, there will always be pigeons. Um, Melbourne is a lot like England in that way, actually. Melbourne is full of pigeons.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's some
Um,
great architecture as well in Melbourne.
yeah, I went there for the first time last year for PAX Australia, and I really like the way the city is laid out and it looks. There is some really interesting architecture in it. It's a city that hasn't 100% given in to the brutalist craze that a lot of Australia, particularly Brisbane, where I live, really got into brutalist architecture. But I was so surprised by Melbourne. There's still so many of the old brick buildings. Even a lot of the skyscrapers still look interesting. But then there's a whole bunch
Mhm.
of art architecture throughout the city. You know, weird bits sticking out that are all colorful and interesting. There was one building that was part of a museum that is like two half spheres smushed together at the rounded edge, and that's like
Okay.
a walkway between
Oh,
two
that's cool.
buildings,
Yeah.
and they're see through, so you can see in them and see the people walking between these two bubbles.
Wow.
And it is a city that
Well,
is,
that sounds amazing.
yeah, and I found it was definitely lived up to the hype of being an art city. It is a city that is proud of its art, not just its street art, but like
Yeah, the
there's,
photos I've seen.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
sculptures everywhere. There's street art on the walls everywhere. They actually have like city funded people that meet you in the street and give you pamphlets that have maps to where all the different street art alleys of Melbourne are, so you can do a
Hmm.
tour.
That's amazing. Yeah, Montreal is kind of like that as well. It's a kind of a curated city in that sense
Yeah, I
here in
have
Canada.
heard good things about Montreal. One day I wouldn't mind checking that out. When we
Yeah.
can finally leave the country again.
Yeah.
I'm right. So what I'm going to do right now, everyone that
That's
is
right.
watching,
When that happens again.
yeah, I'm going to click back over to our main screen. So the art is actually going to come off. So I hope you all had a good look. The good thing is that as Dave and I were talking just before we started, oh, I've put us back on, but where has, oh, there they come. It's just slowly loading. Uh, your webcam is back, but my webcam is not back. Oh, cool. Yeah,
Ah,
there's a really cool comment in the Twitch
well, I'll
chat.
have to do puppets for you.
um, oh, there we go. I'm back. I fixed it. Um, Mitch Twitch Shed has
Oh,
said,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, this kind of vague background drives how it could possibly be Oliver. The classic written word against dystopian England is very interesting.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that was the thing about this book. We had talked about looking at a couple of books, and then this one came up and it just stood out. I mean, it just became something that kind of reminded me of new wave comics from the 80s. Had
Yeah,
this grittiness, like a 2000 AD kind of grittiness to it, which and the art kind of reminded me of Brian Boland a little bit, and it just had this nice, you know, feel like it existed already.
yeah.
I love when a project comes together like that, where it feels like it already exists, when it was released, it's it's really amazing. Yeah. So I think the Oliver Twist element of it, was kind of undermined a little bit. Characters were named after Shakespeare, Shakespeare, and uh, there was a lot of Shakespeare references. But then, right at the end, it comes back with Dickens. So I love all those interactions that
Yeah, I like how that's a
Wood put in there.
yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
I like it as a like it's a clever mix of the two. Sort of a deliberate nod to both universes.
Yeah, you don't need a literary degree to enjoy it, but it helps.
Yeah,
It's got a lot to it. It's meaty.
yeah.
That's one thing I like about it.
That's
Uh,
what's actually especially good reason that I have you on the show today to talk about it because I didn't know about a lot of this stuff because I haven't studied a lot of that stuff. So I'm finding out a lot more about. I really enjoyed the depth of the story on its own, but knowing about all these other little extra things is unveiling
mhm.
unveiling more layers.
Yes, yeah, and it's also funny when you take a look at Witte's work as a whole, right? He's did Rogue One and After Earth on these other
Mm,
stories that he's done, where they're kind of sort of stories about atonement with the father figure, right? And I think that's what this whole story is kind of moving towards. With the main character that saves Oliver is named Prospero, and he's like the ultimate fallen
yes.
father figure. So I think Witta has a couple of things he's working out himself, but I think there's some really great themes that resonate. I mean, you in what would we call that now? Um, in Rogue One, the main character's father designs the Death Star,
Yeah.
and leaves a secret message for how to destroy it in there, and that has to kind of um, redeem the character by delivering the plans.
Yep.
I think that this theme of a father who needs to be redeemed or atoned with is very similar in Oliver, because his dad moves to Rome, abandoning his mom and to collect some money, and immediately dies. It's like, so there's all these characters, all these references
Yep.
in this book, and in all of Witta's work. I think that has this the same theme, kind of repeating, and
Yeah.
the whole idea of a child, maybe raising a child, is really what this first issue of Oliver is all about.
Yeah, and I actually also really like the. I just realized that he also was the screenwriter for the Book of Eli. I actually forgot that was him.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't even
and I
think
just
of that
found
one.
out about something he was working
Yeah,
on that
yeah.
hasn't happened that I'm actually kind of sad about now. He was working on a script known as the Monkey Project,
Okay.
which was
What was
going
he
to
working
be
on?
an animated Journey to the
Okay.
West.
Oh,
Um,
that would be an amazing animated movie.
yeah, it was going to be a series apparently. It apparently was working on it with someone named Chris Weston. I'm not familiar with that name myself. But Weston pulled out of the project, and there's no more
Okay.
information about what happened. So, if that ever comes to be, that would be really cool, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, it would be. That sounds amazing.
Yeah,
Um, but it's kind of fun to take a look at what a writer has done in the past, or what themes reoccur, what keeps coming up, and I think it sort of I mean, he keeps referencing it with all of his allusions to Shakespeare, allusions to Dickens.
yep,
So I think, yeah, he's doing it on purpose. I don't think it's an accident.
yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. It's Gary that has his own show. He's been on a few different podcasts, but he's got that Animal Crossing talk show now. Animal Talking.
Oh, okay, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, late night talk show in the form of an online live stream set in the video game Animal Crossing called Animal Talking. And he's had guests like Elijah Wood, Brie Larson, and Danny Trejo.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, I don't play Animal Crossing, but that looks like it would be fun to watch. I know that I'm not surprised that Elijah Wood went on. He's famously a big player of Animal Crossing, but I
Hmm.
didn't know the others were into it. Although um, Danny Trejo has been involved in so many
Sure.
randomly wholesome things that I'm not surprised by that either.
Yeah, I loved Animal Crossing on GameCube. That's where I played it. So
Ah,
I haven't
cool.
played the new one, but it was relaxing. Fishing. I'd go fishing. I'd do some gardening.
Yep.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Wholesome. I think you said wholesome.
Yeah, wholesome. It looks pretty fun and wholesome and cute. So yeah,
But that's cool. I'm glad. I'm glad they're using. Yeah, I'm glad. It's cool how that sort of Animal Crossing has become a sort of medium for people to do other things.
yeah,
I know people that really love the game, and yeah.
yeah. Well, I know that there are some people at the moment planning a wedding because they have to be social distancing and they can't have all their
Oh
friends
wow,
together. So they're actually going to hold their wedding in Animal Crossing instead, so their friends can all come.
that's amazing. Like I know in Fortnite, bands have done concerts where people have gone to see the concert in the
Yep.
game.
And
I
Tenet
think that's
did
kind of a
its trailer.
meta idea. That's just kind of cool. Okay, right. Yeah, I forgot all about that. Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of use of that kind of interactive media. I think that
Yeah,
can
it,
can
it's
really be
yep, it's really cool. Actually,
added bonus to
I know
to
my
content.
yeah, that's it. And I know my work is actually looking at alternate uses for the technology that they've developed. For anyone watching that doesn't know, obviously, I am working for Ardent Roleplay up here as their community manager, and they are an augmented reality TTRPG app, and it's really cool actually. Like I was a big fan from like last PAX when I went to Melbourne. That was when I first met them. And they did a demo for me. I was blown away by it. And then suddenly now I'm working for them in social media, which is a really great turn of events for me because I'm already super excited about it. But I know they're looking at other applications for it. Um, Apparently, there's a whole bunch of companies that are looking at bringing out some decent and relatively affordable AR glasses in the next couple of years. And so, like, that could be really cool if they can be
Okay.
hooked up with an app like
Yeah.
ours, because you wouldn't need the phone anymore. Because it, the whole thing is we've got this little deck of cards,
Yeah.
and you slap them on the table, scan them, and a D&D monster in 3D appears on your table.
Hmm.
And without
Yeah.
having to
I think that it's really cool, and I think the kind of technology is if you can. Yeah, if you can have that technology have some staying power, because there's so many. What happens is so many platforms change, and so
mm,
the really cool augmented reality thing you're playing on your phone now, when the new phone comes out, no, it's you can't do it anymore. So
exactly.
it's good to kind of for that to adapt to to regenerate with the technology and grow with the technology.
Yeah.
It could be really cool, and I think the more it can be, the more enjoyable it will be in the long run. Yeah,
Yeah. That's
yeah.
actually giving me ideas for like
So
ways that
that's
can
yeah. There's some
be.
really cool,
Yeah.
like things. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually making me think of ways that like people could apply that into comics. You know, like for
Hmm.
covers especially. Like, let me just find one random card that's nice. But like these are the cards. If you could do a cover that's just as like that, and then scan that with your AR app on the phone, and like
Hmm.
the characters on the
Right.
cover appear, and you can like turn them around and stuff, and have a good look at their outfits and costumes and stuff like that. That would be really cool. Like just get an added layer to comics.
It would be, yeah,
I like
yeah, and
especially.
even in that sort of whole idea of the interactive comic, like
Mm, exactly.
yeah,
Like if you, especially comics that include a lot of back matter.
yeah, it's almost like those
Sorry.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can get like the who's who, a bit of origin, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind
Exactly.
of thing is kind of cool. I always see them as sort of I always see them as sort of side quests, like you could do in the story. So like, hey, what's down this alley, like.
Yeah,
you could be a real rabbit hole, like a.
yeah, exactly. That would be really cool. Like certain panels, if they could be drawn to work as AR markers, and you can scan it, and something extra pops up, like like so many
Mhm.
comic book creators include all these little details hidden in the background of the story that people don't notice until they go for a second read through. If those details could be done with augmented reality as well, that would be
Yeah, yeah.
really cool. That would feel extra rewarding for noticing those details. Like, oh, there's a thing that the character hasn't noticed yet. Let me scan that and see if it's 3D. That would be really fun.
Yeah, to do that for everything, but it would be fun to do a couple times in an issue.
Yeah.
I've been watching The Expanse on Amazon Prime,
Mm.
and one thing I like about Amazon Prime is that if you drag the cursor down, it gives you all the names of all the
Yeah,
actors
that
in the
X-ray thing.
show and who they are and what other shows they've been in. Yeah, so I think that's a fun add-on
Yeah.
to the technology. I don't want to. Sometimes it takes me out of the story, which I don't like, but I do like to have that opportunity. So you could switch it on and off. I'd like that even better.
You can.
Are you listening, Amazon?
I think I remember turning that off so it didn't pop up all the time
Okay,
when I was
well
watching
there
The
you go.
Expanse.
It's my wishes have come true.
I had to look up how to do it, but I figured out
Okay, well
that you
I've
could.
just got to use it more often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I binged that a couple of just before
Well,
the
that's good to know.
last season came out. I watched all 4 seasons in like 2 weeks while I was doing my taxes.
Right.
But yeah,
It's
sorry,
a great
getting
show. Yeah. It's
yeah,
fun. It's fun.
it is. Getting back to Oliver though.
we're
Ooh,
we're just going off topic.
yeah, but no, but that's the beauty of this is that it always goes a little bit off topic, but it's always a really good talk. I've only done a couple of these so far, but I've never had a time where we stayed completely on topic
Mhm.
or a time where the topic off topic talk wasn't really interesting. I'm actually going to do a new one soon with Frankie White because something went wrong with Frankie's audio, and it's got
Oh
all
no.
my audio for the entire episode and no Frankie audio, which was a bummer because it was a really good talk
Yeah.
about a comic written by another friend of mine that just came out via Kickstarter. Um,
Okay.
this one. And just before we get back onto Oliver, I'll show you this because this is
Oh,
my
neat.
favorite
Huh.
hardcover ever. It's the first time I've ever seen what they've done with this done in a comic.
Oh wow. That's really neat. I love the layers of that.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
and of course, photo booth opportunity.
Ah!
It was a really
You're
good.
in there.
It was a really good marketing
Yeah, that's
idea
really
with the
cool.
design. Every single person that got their Kickstarter awards that backed for the hardcover was tweeting selfies using that as a photo frame.
Yeah,
So
well
it was
it's brilliant. Yeah,
yeah,
it's irresistible when you have something like that.
right. It was the first thing I did. I opened it up and she's like, that was Chris Panda. He's the artist for the book,
That's
and he came up with the idea to do that with the cover. And it's a full die cut spot UV cover. It's brilliant.
yeah. No, it's really a neat idea. I've never seen that before.
Yeah. And if you want to check it out, Dave, they've actually got that still open for pre-orders via Indiegogo right now for more books. They funded via Kickstarter, but they also did the Indiegogo thing so they could do the in-demand and
Oh,
have a
cool.
store open long term.
Yeah.
So I've only found out the other day they're still taking orders, which is cool because there were some bits that
Okay.
I couldn't afford when I was back in the Kickstarter that I wanted to get some of the collectible bits.
Ah,
So I'm going to go check that out. They did like a challenge coin and
that
a
sounds
pin
cool.
of
Yeah.
the helmet. That was really nice. But yeah, now
Okay.
getting back on topic.
I'll have
Um,
to take a look at that. Yeah, that looks really cool.
yeah. Um, yeah. So this world of Oliver. Spoiler warning. If you haven't read it yet, this might get a little spoilery while we actually talk about some of the stuff that's in issue 1. We're not going to go past issue 1 because David hasn't read it, and I honestly can't remember what happens outside issue 1 yet. Um, but it is free on Comixology right now. Issue 1 of Oliver, you can go and download it right now and read it. So do that, and if you haven't read it yet and you don't want to get spoiled, come back and rewatch the VOD later this afternoon or on YouTube tonight. But we're going to get into the meat of it now. So yeah, it's set in England post something super tragic. If I remember rightly, correct me if I'm wrong, David. It was they spoke about a virus coming through or something like that, or like the air became toxic. Something...
Well, I think, yeah. No, I think the way it's described, and it's done like in a magic lantern kind of way, which is kind of a throwback to the whole Victorian thing. You know, there's clones that are made, like over 1 million clones are made by England to fight this war. And then there's some catastrophic event. It could be that they use nuclear weapons. It could be a virus. It could be a biological weapons. It's kind of vague in the first issue, but essentially there's nothing left to fight for. So the war just ends, and the clones who are kind of genetically engineered to survive in this harsh environment, they've been sent to London's core, probably because it's been bombed, and the rest of humanity, or I think they call them pure bloods or pure breeds or something. They are they have sort of put the clones in this area, and so Oliver, this is what happens at the beginning, is born by a human in this area and raised by the clones, because they say if they send him out, they're going to kill him. So it's a sort of a mercy that they're going to do to raise him, as one of their own.
Yeah, that's right. And we don't really know a lot about Oliver's true origins in the first issue. But we do know that... Hang on. I'm just going to flip through and make sure that this is an issue 1 thing that I'm remembering. Yeah, from my memory, we don't find out a lot about his origins.
That's good. That's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's right. Yep, I did remember.
No, other than the fact that there's something about him when he's born.
Yes.
And yeah, and there's some that they haven't told Oliver as a child, and I think Banquo says to Prospero that he's going to hate you. Don't tell him now, right? If he finds out later.
Yeah.
So there's something that makes Oliver special, right? Because he can survive in this poisoned environment.
Yeah.
For some reason. So
yeah, which no humans are supposed to be able to. And obviously, since he actually has hair, he's not a clone. All of the clones are bald, completely bald. No eyebrow. Oh no, they do have eyebrows, I think.
Yeah.
But no facial hair, no head hair. They're completely genetically bald. But Oliver is not, so we know he's not a clone. But there is something special about him. He can survive, and he seems to be a little more than human. Like, he does seem, from what I remember seeing just then of him running around the city, he has got a little more speed and strength than he should for his age. He's very agile. He can jump from building to building without too much worry.
And he's got that quarterstaff,
the
stick, right? He's got that stick he's always using. And now, to me, one quibble is that it's supposed to be like 3 years later, and he appears to be like maybe 10 or something. So maybe it's an accelerated growth.
Yeah.
Maybe the clone, maybe there's something of that element, or maybe there's some mutation or something, or he's just drawn that way. But Yeah.
No, he definitely. Well, they show him standing next
So
to
there's
some of the
something there
clones.
that makes him.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. They show him standing next to some of the clones, and he's definitely taller than a
Yeah.
3-year-old.
So there. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that there's, and that's specifically stated like 3 years later, right? So I
Oh,
think that that's the clues leading ahead to indicate something is up, right? That he's
yeah.
not um, just a standard human, right?
No, and
There's a
yeah,
couple
they
of little hints in there. Now I
exactly.
haven't read on. I want to read on, but
Yeah. No, and
yeah,
it
I
ends
will.
with that
I will
quote that
take a
you
look
just
at that
mentioned.
as the story progresses. Obviously,
Yeah. Yeah, and it ended with that quote you
that's
just
right.
mentioned
Yeah,
about
and I
if you
think,
don't tell him now, he will hate you.
and that's yeah, and that that kind of also harkens back to the whole, you know, atonement with father, reckoning of the father figure. Not telling a child a secret. I mean, that's classic Dickens, right? So
Yeah.
um,
Um,
it kind of resonates through Witta's work. Yeah.
yeah. And also, just a quick aside, if you haven't already seen it, but Derek gave us a shout out on Twitter and said that he's glad we like the book.
Awesome. That's really amazing. Yeah, I love his work. It's just, I mean, his work in The Boys is so cool.
Yeah.
You know, which is something that's spun off into its own thing now with the
Yeah.
series.
Yep. And I'm
But
actually.
yeah, he's done some amazing stuff. Oh, I was looking.
Oh, hang on, I lost you there. Can you repeat that?
Sorry.
I lost the end of your sentence there.
Yeah. Oh, I said I did a bit. Oh, okay, I was doing a bit digging when
Yep.
I was looking at this book, and the book he pulls out of the bookshelf that Prospero pulls out of the bookshelf. It's As You Like by William Shakespeare, and he uses the name Oliver from the book. He was going to say Frederick, but he got Banquo says something really funny that there's so many Fredericks already,
Yep.
right? But he chooses Oliver, and if you look at the character of Oliver in Shakespeare in As You Like, his name is Oliver Du Bois. So I don't know if that's a nod to Derek Robinson's work in The Boys or not,
Mm.
or if it's just a random happenstance.
Well,
But it's a wacky coincidence.
it is. Derek, if you happen to be watching still, feel free to jump in the chat and answer that question. And you actually just reminded me, I literally just this second went
Yeah.
and purchased the new comic that Derek has just done with DC, Hellblazer with Tom Taylor.
The which new comic? Sorry, that last part
Um,
was cut off for
the
me.
new comic he's done with DC Comics, which is the new John Constantine Hellblazer comic with Tom Taylor.
Oh yeah.
I,
Okay.
I'm not going to claim
I'll have
actual
to look. I'll
credit
have
for
to look
this,
that. Looks
but
that I.
I like to think that I had something to do with this because I was pestering them a couple of years ago for so long to work together. I'm like, hey, you guys, you two should work together. You two should work together. And then, like, a couple of months later, there's like, oh, yeah, I just got off the phone with Derek Robertson about a really cool project. So I like to imagine that
That's
I
funny.
had some kind of influence over that in getting two of my favorite comics people together. Because Tom is a local, actually. Like, he's down in Melbourne. And I chat with him every Comic Con
Okay.
and try to pick up one of his comics if I've got the cash. He's my favorite classic heroes writer at the moment. He also wrote a really
Mhm.
good Star Wars comic a while back. He's written a few, but it was Star Wars Invasion. So it was like Jedi Master Luke and having his
Okay.
academy, his own academy, and all that sort of stuff. And it was where the can't remember their name now, but they're the aliens that wore like crab armor that was lightsaber proof, and they were force resistant. And it had one
Okay.
of my favorite Luke Skywalker
Mm.
scenes ever in that book, where he jumps out of a troop transport from hundreds of meters above this battlefield in full black robes with his green lightsaber blazing,
Uh-huh.
and as he lands, he slams his hand into the ground and does a force push so powerful that it still manages to knock a whole battalion of these
Okay.
creatures over. Even though like other Jedi were trying to force
Right.
push these
Wow.
guys, and they just kept walking through it because the force is barely affects them.
Right.
And it was just this incredible moment of showing that
Hmm.
Luke has actually achieved balance in the force within himself. And it was
Right.
that yeah, it was that
Well, that's cool.
storyline.
I like how I like how they're expanding things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was very cool. And it was
Yeah.
sort
There's
of a
there's some
shame.
really good stuff out there right now.
Yeah, it was sort of a shame that they didn't go a little bit more with that sort of storyline with Luke in the movies, showing him like really at peace with the Force and with himself. That would have been really cool. I did really enjoy all the new movies, but I was
Hmm.
kind of hoping for a little bit
Hmm.
more of that because that sort of that version of Luke has the
Well, they can't
philosophy
give us everything we want.
exactly. Yeah, that version of Luke believes that there is no light side or dark side of the Force. There is just the Force, but there are bad and good people.
Hmm.
So if you
That's
use the
interesting.
yeah, if you use the Force out of
Yeah.
anger and selfishness,
Yeah. I haven't kept up.
yeah. Well, I think it's on Comixology. It's out of print now. You can't get it in print anymore, but it's a really good storyline, and it
Oh,
actually has the Solo twins in it.
okay. Well, I'll have to look for it anyway. I could read it digitally.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm pretty sure it's on here, and yeah, I just picked up the new Hellblazer, which I'm really looking forward to because Tom loves superheroes and writes them really well. Almost all of my absolute favorite moments in recent superhero comics, because I don't read a lot of them anymore because there's so many crossovers left, right, and center and whatnot. But if I find out that Tom Taylor and Gail Simone, especially, are two of my top writers,
It's hard to keep up.
yeah, it is. If I find out that those two are writing one of those characters, bam, I'm on it. Um, Tom Taylor did a short run on Spider-Man a little while ago.
And that's the nice thing about Twitter because you find out early,
Exactly.
right?
Um, yeah, yeah. Tom did a short run on Spider-Man a little while ago, and he did one issue in particular that was solely about Spider-Man visiting this little boy who has cancer in hospital.
Okay.
This kid loves
Hmm.
Spider-Man, and he wanted to meet him, and so he went and visited him in hospital and played make believe with him for a day, and that's what the entire issue is about.
Wow,
And it was really, really sweet.
that's great. I love it when innovation. Yeah, yeah, and it's a nice story. And I like when they take your expectations and of what a superhero comic can be and do something fresh and new with it, and that
Yeah,
that humanizes it. I think to a certain degree. Yeah,
yeah,
that
exactly.
sounds
Have
that
you?
sounds amazing.
It was really good. Have you read the Injustice comics?
No, I haven't. Yeah,
That's
I've
an
been oh, I've been busy. It's been hard to
yeah.
hard to keep up with
Oh
comics
no,
the
no, no.
past couple of years.
Yeah, that's fair. I think they're on Comixology as well, and they've actually got a prequel series that just came out recently. But they're based off the Injustice video game, but it's Tom Taylor's story of that world, and it has even though it's a darker, nastier world, it's the world that gave us angry despot dictator Superman. But it gave us that in a real deep and meaningful way. Like it showed us Superman at his prime, and then the horrible events that led to his fall. But also, it gave us some of the absolute
Mhm.
most golden, classic, pure moments of certain characters. Like that really showed a fundamental understanding of what that character is and who they are. Like there were some of the best Alfred moments I've ever seen in comics in this series, including one. Do you remember from like the '90s slash early 2000s, Lex Luthor having that Everyman project?
Mm, I don't know.
It was this thing where he
That was
made
in the
pills.
regular DC continuity, or was that in
Yeah,
a?
yeah, it was in the regular DC continuity. It was this thing he did where he made pills that would give people superpowers.
Okay.
Yeah, so they take that a bit of a step further, and they steal Luther's
No, I don't.
formula.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah, in this universe, they steal the formula for the super strength pill, so that they can fight on the level of, because Superman has Wonder Woman on his team and
Hmm.
everything when he start decides to take over. And so we actually get a beautiful scene where
Right.
Superman invades the Batcave, and you see Alfred just berate him verbally, and then pop a pill and break his nose.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, he just walks up to him after he's popped the pill and boom, headbutts him in the
Yeah,
nose
I
with
remember there was.
blood everywhere.
That would be unexpected. Yeah. I think there was an issue of All Star Superman where Lois Lane is given powers for a day, so she
Yeah,
can have powers and Superman can have powers. And I love that issue. That's a great. It was a great story.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
a good one.
There's a wistfulness to it.
Yeah, that's it.
It reminds me of that a little bit. Yeah. There was some great stuff. Um, with Oliver, one of
Yes.
the things made me think about it because when you mentioned Alfred and the continuity and all that sort of thing. One of the things I liked about it is that it felt like the story. Maybe it's all the references to everything else, but it felt like the
Yep.
story itself has sort of percolated for a long time. It felt like there was a solid backstory to what was
Yeah.
going on, and you sort of picked up an issue and you were like, wow, okay, what is this all about? Like I'd like to know more about this, and
Yeah.
who are these guys, and why are why are the clones over here, and so there's the way it's presented is it's almost like there's a canon already kind of built in,
Yeah.
which is kind of a nice little approach, right? So you had this desire to learn more, and I think
Yeah.
that's what this made this one really stand out. I think there were a couple comics you'd sent me like, hey, wait, let's take a look at some of these, and this one I just, after the second look at it, I just thought, wow, like I want to know more about this comic. It has a nostalgia feel, like it feels
Yeah.
like a late '80s, early '90s gritty comic from England, but
Yep.
at the same time, there's this to it that has for the Oliver character that has all the elements of anime and uh, um, video games and stuff like that are kind of fun.
Yeah. No, I really liked that about it too. When I first read the first issue, I was like, oh, shit, it's finished. And I had to sit there and wait.
I think I missed that.
So when I first finished
Oh
the
yeah,
first
yeah,
issue, I was just immediately like,
yeah.
oh
That's
shit,
true.
it's over.
And so I think that well, it just got interesting too because it starts in the first issue at least. You start realizing that Oliver, things aren't adding up. He's not 3 years old. He's not a regular human. He should be dead. He should be, he shouldn't be breathing. And there's this reaction shot I think where when Prospero, is told by Oliver, why can I breathe? Why how come I didn't die? And
Yep.
there's this reaction shot of Prospero's face, like and that's a great shot.
Yeah.
I love those quiet moments in comics, that reveal things. And I thought that was a great one, and then it immediately changed the subject. It's like, oh, we got to get going. So that one, it kind of rings true in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I've just posted the link to Oliver in the chat as well, actually, so anyone that hasn't read it can find that. And that is actually getting towards
Oh,
the end of our time now. So if we want to sort of do some final thoughts, and then we can tell everyone where they can find us. Because unfortunately, I'm really enjoying this chat, and I would love this to be one of my
Mm.
hour and a half episodes. But I have a physio coming soon to look at my neck because I've been in here
Well, I've
for
got
six
drawing to do
weeks.
tonight.
Exactly. I've been in here for 6 weeks doing assignments, so
Yeah, yeah. Well, I try to. Yeah, yeah. Well, I just I think with the book, I think to wrap things up and kind of like where I do want to pick up the rest of them. I think it's definitely something I'd even like to get in a graphic novel hard copy format. I think there's a lot going for it, and I'm curious to what happens. I hope they don't. Okay, here's my feeling. I hope they don't ruin it because they could just go for the easy way out, or they could make things like super twisty and go for that twist ending and all that. But I just want them to tell the story. I think that
yeah,
I'm looking forward to taking a look at the rest of it. In terms of the first thing that came up, I mean, all the references to Shakespeare and all the references to um, you know Dickens. As an English teacher, high school English teacher, it's kind of like, oh man, this is like they're talking my language. So I really appreciated that, um, that aspect of things, which I felt was important um, to, uh, to maintain and to keep my interest, at least my interest. That's one thing I was
yep,
suckered in with that, you know.
yeah. Well, I'm up to issue 4, and I'm eagerly awaiting the next issue. And so far, I can tell you that I don't feel like they've done anything with the story. Like I'm eagerly awaiting the next issue, and like I'm thrilled to go back and reread all 4.
Okay.
So every single time I've seen that there was a new issue, I have grabbed it
Yeah.
immediately.
Um, I think that's and I said yeah, and that's one of the things I want. I think if I'm I really like a physical copy. I'm one of those people. I mean, I like reading it, but I find it loses its impact for me. I kind of like being able to put the book down, walk away, come back to it, look at it again. There's
Yeah.
something about the physical object. I'm old. What are you going to
No.
say? But it's something about the physical object that is really attractive to me. And like when you showed me that die cut cover of that comic, like yeah, that's amazing. Like
Right.
having um, something that you can touch and feel and interact with physically. That really
Yeah.
gets me excited about it.
I prefer that too myself. I literally only buy digital comics because a single floppy issue can be up to $9 in Australia.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yes,
I
but
guess that would make sense.
yeah, between six to nine
Yeah,
dollars
I've
per
kind of given
floppy.
up on floppies. I feel bad, but yeah, I've kind of given up on the floppies there. But I've been collecting the graphic novels,
Yeah, that's what I do when I can.
collections when I can, and I just feel yeah, I like reading the whole story now. I used to get excited about the cliffhangers. I mean, the old Alpha flights in the '80s and
Yep.
the Daredevils and that sort of thing. I really liked, having to wait another month to find out what's going to happen, and not
Yep.
having social media to ruin it for you. Um, but I think now when I sit down, I love to look at a continuous story. So all the
Yeah.
Watchmen issues are in one book, or Kingdom Come, or Marvels. It's nice to have that volume.
Yep.
Um,
I know
and there's
what you mean.
always like extra stuff in the back, which is kind of fun.
Yeah. And if I remember rightly, I'm pretty sure Derek said there is a trade coming.
Yeah. Oh, good. Well, that's good. I think it's deserving. I think the people who should be interested in Image comic, isn't it? If I'm not mistaken,
Say again?
is that I think Oliver's an Image comic. If I'm not
Yes.
mistaken, I don't
Yes,
have
it
the
is.
window open,
Yes, it is.
but I think it was from Image Comics. If I'm not, yeah, and they've been doing some really innovative and cool stuff. I think, um, which is always nice.
Yeah.
I was a big Oni fan for many years,
Yep.
with Scott Pilgrim and all that, and you know, and then Queen and Country and all that sort of thing. And now, and now that I'm sort of getting back into what I want to do with comics for myself, it's weird what I'm going back to. I'm going back to old Tintin
Oh,
volumes,
nice.
and that sort of thing, just to get that that size, right? I love the big album size of French comics, and
Yep,
I'm kind of interested in doing something that big for my next project.
that'd be cool.
50 pages, hardcover. I think it would be
Yep.
print on demand. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at 100 pages hardcover because mine's going to be an anthology of with multiple writers, so 10 pages each. So that's going to be an
Mm,
interesting project. But I have one
yeah.
final suggestion for you. You can get this one in trades. This is the one that,
True. Okay. Oh, Chew.
yeah,
Yeah. I think I saw
yeah, that's
your
last.
interview where you're talking about Chew.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was our last episode, and I love that book so much. And there's a sequel slash prequel that's going on right now. Like it's a second
I
spin-off.
kind of picked that up last episode. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really cool. It's about his sister, the main character's sister, instead of him, and all
Yeah.
of the things that she was doing while that comic was happening.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because like he's a cop and she's a criminal.
Oh, wow. That's kind of a neat way to do it.
Yeah, so it's really cool. And it's got a new artist, which gives
Yeah.
it like a fresh feel, but it still feels like it belongs in that universe. So it's really cool.
Hmm.
Um, and that is time. So that has been uh, really fun, rambly in some points because I always ramble, but really fun talk. And I really thank David for joining me today. David, do you want to let people know where they can find you on social media and purchase your
Well, thank
wonderful
you.
minis?
Yeah. Well, if you go to okumarts.com kind of has all the links on there to let you go where you need to go. So you can buy how to draw books that I do. You can buy role playings like the ever popular Grandma World, which is one of those games that people seem to like. I also do Save the Day, and let me see if I have my anime hack book here. There you go. So yeah, you can find these on the website on okumarts.com. On drive through role playing, I usually sell them through, uh, and um, and I have comics on drive through comics as well that can be purchased. So yeah, it's that's where I usually try to put everything so that people can find where I'm at. I have
Awesome.
a Patreon as well, which creates paper miniatures, 2 sets a month. So there's about 45 to 50 minis a month
Man,
for the
you
price
work
of a
so
fancy coffee.
fast. It took me like 10 months just to finish that one pack
And
from the
well, it's
Indiegogo.
a lot of it's funny because it's it happens. I mean, for me, I just uh, it just kind of flows. I'm going to create the miniatures no matter what, so I might as well sell them, right? So
Yeah,
it's an unending flow of miniatures and
yep.
ideas. So
Yeah, and I suppose that is the difference for me between everyone else in
I just
the.
wish I just wish I could draw faster.
Well, me too. I'm still working on that sci-fi poster that you last saw a preview of because I've had to put it down for a week. But I think that is a core difference between me and everybody else in the mini community, and why I shouldn't hold myself to everybody else's speed, is that I that's not my only thing. I'm usually working on about 5 different things from 5 different genres
Yes,
of projects. So
and that's okay. I mean,
yeah, because I'm,
yep,
I'm
and
always jealous of how
I'm all
fast
over the
everyone
place in
works.
genres. I know that there's some people that are making them. Yeah. And I know there's a lot of people that are making some wonderful fantasy miniatures, and that's what they do. But
Mm,
for me, I'm interested in modern work in 1960s spy movies. I'm interested in 1930s radio dramas. So I want to have all these genres and elements
yeah.
together. I think the first game I made that I sold online was Katana Schoolgirls versus Zombie Furries. Like it was kind of one of those. I
Yeah,
don't know what I wanted. I don't know what I'm doing, but here it is.
right. And that's what I do love about your work as well, is because you are hitting all those genres. Because most people stick to the high fantasy, but you're hitting all those other genres. I want to hit some of the weird
Mhm.
sci-fi, cartoony stuff at some point. But like right now, when I do work on my minis, I'm having fun doing my
Mhm.
take on high fantasy. but I really do look forward to trying out some weird, kitschy
Yes.
sci-fi stuff eventually. Awesome.
Yeah, and I think I make them fast because I want to use them. So, I
Yeah,
mean, when I get an idea, I mean, these miniatures are I'm going to use on my table. So I'm going to use them probably next week. So I better get them done.
yeah,
So
no, exactly.
that's been a driving force as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Alrighty, well, that is time, and for anyone who is new today, I am Sean Sunday, and you can find me at Sean Sunday Art on all your social media platforms, some variation therein of that. If you are an Australian illustrator, you can find my Discord for Australian illustrators. If you are an RPG creative, making accessories, games yourself, writing modules, or any of that sort of stuff, or a streamer, you can find the Australian RPG Creatives Discord, all under my link tree. Also, if you just like my work and want to find out more about No Capes, want to see all Dave's links, which I'm going to put into the Discord for the No Capes episode today, you can join my Discord, all of which are available via the link tree in my Twitter bio. Or if you go !Discord in the chat right now, you will see it. I'm going to do that right now because, ta-da! Excellent. Well, thank you very much for joining me, Dave. That was really fun, and that was a really good test of the new
Oh,
computer,
thank you.
which it's working aces. Even with the slight internet issues that you were experiencing, everything
Good.
has streamed really smoothly. Um, for the first time in my entire streaming history, I have 0 dropped frames, and that's amazing. So thank you for being here for my pilot test.
That's great.
This has been the best performance stream-wise that I've ever had.
It's historic. It's a historic moment.
It is. It is. It's a level up, and it's motivating me, and I feel really good about the future of this show. So thank you very much for joining me. I look forward to chatting with
Awesome.
you more in depth offline about the rest of Oliver once you've
Thank
read it. And I'm going to
Thank
say,
you. Don't spoil it.
no, I won't. I won't. Once you've finished reading it, let me know, and we'll talk. Hey, thank you for joining us, and goodbye.